Hi, I'm Rodney here from Wholesale Automatic Transmissions, and today we're talking Defenders. So if you've got a Defender 90 series or 110 series and you've got the Isuzu 4BD1T engine in the Defender, what we're going to do is show you how to convert your manual to an automatic transmission. So we'll get started. Basically, this whole video clip, it's going to be a bit of a long one, because what I'm trying to do is actually show you how we actually did the conversion here at Wholesale Automatics. Okay, we for a long time thought we made the adapters, we made it all fit. This one's actually complete, it's been driven, it works a treat. And we thought about how we can market and sell this kit, and we actually thought in the end it would be better to show owners that if they wanted to do it themselves, the best way to do it was for us to show you how we did it. And if you needed either the transmission or any of the components off of us, you can give us a call and we can certainly help you out there. So we'll go through step by step. Like I said, it's a lengthy video, but it is a step by step, for the most part, on how we actually did this conversion. First of all, the biggest thing we had to overcome was how we're going to do it. We didn't know whether anybody had done it before. The customer definitely wanted the automatic transmission. The engine themselves, they're a big pot 4-cylinder diesel, and we needed a fairly hefty transmission to be able to do it. In this case, the 4L80E Chevy automatic transmission was chosen, and that's mostly because it's just so durable. You can buy the parts at any corner shop. You know, they're readily available in any country, especially America and Australia. And so we chose that transmission. In this case, the customer supplied us with a brand new one. This one's actually a 4L85E, but most common is the 4L80E. Through any of this, if you want to do this conversion, you can use a second-hand auto, a second-hand transfer case. You don't have to do it new. We're just simply showing you how we did it and the components that you will need to be able to do it yourself, okay? So this is the 4L80 transmission. This is a brand new one. The first thing we had to do was design and build our own adapter, which bolts directly onto the engine, and then the auto bolts directly onto that. This is a one-piece billet machined aluminium adapter. It also comes with the billet torque converter. So it's a heavy-duty torque converter that's also been made where the backing plate bolts straight up to the standard Isuzu drive plate. And in this case, this drive plate also has looks like a manual flywheel, but it's more of a counterweight. The automatic drive plate, the standard spigot, we built the torque converter for it, and we also did this dust cover. Now this dust cover is actually a standard Chevy LS1 dust cover, and you'll notice there'll be a couple of tangs on the inside of it. We actually had to machine them out because the torque converter actually went past that. So this entire kit here we do sell separately, and we'll put a photo up now. So here is a photo of the kit, and it'll show the torque converter, the dust cover, the adapter, and the drive plate assembly. So what you see in this photo is basically is one of the kits that we actually sell as part of this. Now that can be bought separately, so you can use your second-hand auto, or however you want to do it really, but that was just a kit. The reason why we did it for 4L80E, once again, it's a heavy-duty transmission. It's a 4-speed overdrive transmission, a really big torque converter that can handle all the pulses from the diesel engine and everything, and it's just so super durable. In this case, standard pan on it, that's all it actually needed. The rear adapter, and in this case, this is an LT, just let me double check, I wrote some notes down. This is an LT 230 transfer case, which is really, the reason why we had to use this transfer case, it was the only one that was available where there was adapter already readily available. So this is a Marks 4x4 adapters adapter kit, which allows us to bolt directly from the 4L80E directly to the LT 230 transfer case. In this case, the customer had supplied us the transfer case as well, and he actually had a, a centered diff lock an LSD center diff was put in, and he actually got that from Ashcroft, and I know Ashcroft is actually in the UK, so he done that, and he also got this deep cast aluminium pan here for the transfer case, and that's a nice bit of kit, and he actually got that as part of one. So whoever did his transfer case added those couple of items. You don't need to do it necessarily. This customer's obviously gone all out. All right, we manufactured the two rear mounts. All right, this allows the engine to stay in its original position, so you're not actually changing the original position of the engine. These were fabricated in-house here, and it was done in such a way that even when we bolt up to the chassis here, we actually drilled and put anti-crush tubes in there, so when you do these bolts up, you can't crush the chassis. Now, I actually will show you just briefly that we actually have templates. These are just rough templates of the rear mounts. We will also be having these for sale if people just want to do this, and it allows for us to turn around and just bolt these directly in. I believe that these the rubber mounts are the original rubber mounts that were on the original transfer case. We've turned around and just mounted them on the chassis, and we actually turned around and made the box sections here to allow it to bolt straight onto the chassis. All right, so let's just face it now. We've gotten that far, so now we understand that for you to do this, you've got to be handy with the tools. You've got to be able to put your own slugs in, so you can the anti-crush tubes, so you can do all this. You can fab these up yourself. We did them here. If you're handy with the tools and got a welder and everything, you can do them yourself. If not, we do have a set of templates. We probably will make them up for customers just to make it life easier for them. All right. The most difficult part of this entire build, believe it or not, was this handbrake drum. Because of this handbrake drum, there is a big cross member that used to go right above, particularly where this is. In this case, we actually had to cut that cross member down, and the worst part about that cross member is that it was also the body mounts. So the body mounts went off that cross member. We've got engineers here, and they were good enough. They actually cut the cross member out completely and then built it up and put these tubes across and made it so the original body mounts went back on in that same position. Truth be told, if you had the handbrake in the rear diff as part of the wheel hubs, you wouldn't actually have to make this modification at all. We originally had it in without the hub, and we just had to trim a little bit of the lip of this front cross member. Then when we realised we had to put this big thing on, we reconditioned that for him. We put it on and we thought, all right, we had to do this big mod. Because we cut that cross member out, we then built a second cross member just behind it, and that was to make up for removing this one. As we said, we've got engineers here, and we're working with close engineers that were very much telling us what we can and can't get away with, and what we should do to make sure that we weren't compromising the vehicle chassis in any way. We'll put a photo up now of what this looked like when it was being built, and we'll show that quite clearly. It was pretty good the way it's been done. And yeah, so that allowed us to put the big drum on it. Now, there were some people turning around and said they might be able to put handbrake, disc brake handbrakes on, or if you can move them and change the rear diff, or if you've got the option to maybe somehow use the rear diff as your handbrake, the rear hubs. By far, it was the easiest way to do. In this case, this is what we had to do. So this is the extreme that you're ever going to have to do. But because of this, there was an awful lot of fab. So you have to be quite capable of doing this fab work, or know someone that'll do it for you. And but we got it all in absolutely beautiful. We obviously had to make a couple of these brackets up. Now, I'm not sure, I'm not playing devil's advocate here, but these look like they might be part of the handbrake drum that comes around. So we had to make a couple of these little brackets up that allowed us, yeah, it is, that's the cable that come with this. It wraps around, goes onto this, and then connects onto the original handbrake that used to be here off the old manual. And all we had to do was just, that's all we did, put two little brackets there and connected them in the middle. So one cable is now pulling on the other cable. Moving on, obviously when you do a conversion like this, obviously the length, the overall length of the manual is vastly different from the auto. The auto is obviously longer, and because of that we had to cut and shut the tail shafts. So we actually had these two tail shafts made. They are the original ends, but with brand new universal joints put in it. You need to put really good quality universal joints in these things because they are a small universal joint. And then basically we re-tubed it and we did it that way. Now what I'm going to do is quickly, I'm just going to take an overall measurement just so you've got an idea. Now this will be taken from flange face to flange face in the middle, halfway up. So not at the bottom of the flange, not at the top of the flange, in the middle of the flange. And this will give us an idea on exactly how long the rear shaft is. And I work in millimetres where I am. So this tail shaft is 830 millimetres long, and that's from flange face to flange face. We actually got this company, Driveline Services Australia. They actually made these shafts for us. They are not cheap, but they are extremely well built. Also, I will let you know that I'll put this on here. Bear with me for a sec. This tube is a 50.86. I'm going to say probably 50.5 mil tube, and it does actually have a collapsing yoke in the middle. So in other words, it's got a thread in here, allows the tail shaft to expand and contract. The front tail shaft was a lot more tricky. Now I'll do the same thing first. I'll take the front measurement. Remember, this is to an LT230 transfer case. And so centre of face of flange. Oh, I'm not going to get this right. Give me one sec. Get my hand in the right spot here. Here we go. And we go out. So this one is actually going to be 890 mil, and that's face to face, okay? Because this transmission is such a big transmission, and we've got cross members in the way. These are all the original cross members here, by the way. We've got the sway bars and everything. We actually re-tubed this right down. So this one is a really solid little piece, and this one is actually, oh, hang on a sec, it's changed from imperial to metric. That's what we want, metric there. And this one's 32 mil tube, all right? Now I gather the tail shaft company that made ours, or the tail shaft company that makes yours, they'll understand what's involved with the thickness of the wall or whatever they use to do that. This also has an expansion slip yoke on the front as well. This one was pretty worn out. We actually had to put a brand new one on it. I mean, you still can buy them brand new. And this, it's a slim line. It allows us, and like, it's a little bit close here, but you got to remember, this thing is up on the hoist at the moment. The front diff is on full sag as far as it'll go. Same with the back. And I've still got clearance to be able to put my hand up in here, and I can get the tip of my finger in there, but that's as low as it's ever going to go. And we've still got plenty of room around here. Our main concern was obviously the side of the pan, you know, making sure that we had enough room, remembering that this point here doesn't actually move. So this part of the tail shaft moves very little. It's only the diff that goes up and down. And at the moment, as I said, we're hanging on the lowest possible point right now. So we'll go back around to the front of the car, because the next thing we're going to show is probably the coolers. Now, we always believe in putting coolers up front. There's not a lot of room, but there's certainly enough room behind this grille to fit two of these oil coolers. These are the same coolers that are up there, you can see. There's actually two of them back to back. Here is the pair. So that's them. We mount them back to back. We normally put some brackets in between. You can make your own brackets and everything. It's not something that we'll be supplying as part of a kit. It's very much a DIY, because I would imagine that as the models went through and the years went through, this grille and this front section changed a lot. So that's not to say, and I don't know everything about this particular Land Rover model with the Isuzu engine in it. It might only be for this model, and away it goes. If you always use two oil coolers, okay? You always want a pre-cooler and an after-cooler. If we mount them like this, we always put the hot oil to the rear one, all right? So the hottest oil goes in the rear one. We then transfer it to the front one, and then it cools the front one down, all right? It does two things. One, the first cooler normally only ever takes off about 10 or 15% of the heat. The second cooler will take a further 30% off, all right? So it's always best to have two coolers. Most cars have them heat exchange in the radiator and then have a single cooler out the front. That works equally as well. You can put in any sort of other heat exchanger in and then go through to a single cooler in front. That works just as well. It's any combination, but the coolers do need to be pretty big in volume. They don't have to be thick. It works off surface area is far better than thickness, cooler thickness. So that's why we use these ones and that. These are all Australian made and everything, and we actually use them in many other models and that as well. So that's how we did the coolers. Now they are just flexi lines that we use. They're a good pressure one. They're about 150 PSI to 200 PSI lines, where this transmission really only generates 35 PSI of pressure in the cooling circuit. These lines are also then put inside a flexible conduit, and that just allows you to stop from stone strikes, sticks, rubbing against each other and that. But it is important to put P-clips up or something as we go along to make sure that they're just not flopping around in the wind. All right, so I'll just pop these away quickly. Now that basically gives you the oversight of the underneath of the car. We do have the T-bar shifter inside, which we'll show you in a minute. And these are the cable that comes down. These are a cable type. I like the cable type shifters for the sheer fact is that they're easy to plumb. The T-bar can be in a number of positions and it doesn't affect it. You don't really want to use big linkage systems because it means you've got to cut a big hole in the floor. And we're already limited to room in this car as to how we can fit that all up. We've done all the wiring and everything to this as we've been going. We obviously use a CompuShift transmission controller to run this 4-speed auto. We strongly believe in them. We believe that they're the strongest in the market. I've actually got one just here somewhere. So I've got one just sitting in this carton for a sec. So this is the CompuShift transmission controller, and it is Bluetooth. It has Bluetooth connectivity, so you can actually make all your settings and all your adjustments and your setups and everything via an app on your phone. It doesn't matter what phone it is, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, but you can have an iPad or a Kindle, or the list really goes on. And the good thing about this is that this is IP rated, right? These are designed for these types of vehicles. They're so rugged, they're tough, they're billet aluminium, they're made in America. They have the full wiring harnesses that come with it, so they are a true plug and play. So you plug directly into here, which this is all IP rated plugs as well. It has all the plugs and everything you need to go straight onto the transmission. It also has a display. The display also shows you what gear you're in, your transmission temperature, whether your lockups on or off. And it's got a number of arrangements that you can go through, how much throttle you're using, and everything like that. So that's all, they're brilliant. We've been playing with these for years. We've actually been fitting them in all our modern Nissan Patrol conversions and Land Cruiser conversions that we do, manual to auto, but we also use them for these ones as well. They're absolutely brilliant. We've put them in so many things. We go through hundreds of these. So that's the computer of our choice. That's what we use for this. And it's what was used to set this one up and get it all running. So that explains the underneath. We'll take a quick little break for you. We'll only be back in a quick second, and we'll get inside and have a quick little look at what we did on the inside. All right, we're back again. Now we're talking about the interior of this car. Remember, this is a project car. The customer still hasn't put all the seats in, all the centre console and all that in. They'll do that when they get that home. But we just basically wanted to show you what we did with the pedals and what we did with the T-bar assembly. The pedals was easy. Basically, we just had to remove the clutch pedal and also put a blanking plate on the firewall where the clutch pedal used to go to the firewall. The brake pedals on these are so massive as a pedal anyway, we actually didn't have to extend it. We didn't really have to do anything at all there. So that worked out really well. The T-bar assembly, now we used a T-bar assembly made by Winters in the US. You can use a B&M, you can use a Hurst or a Locar. There's several companies around that make these T-bars because the 480E is such a common transmission throughout the world that everybody makes T-bars for it. We liked this particular one because we believed that it was a little bit more commercial looking, and its character was very similar to that of the car. Now this T-bar is normally much longer. Now at the bottom of this T-bar there is a shaft that sticks out a little bit, so we've actually cut a little hole in this small flat panel on the front here, which allows the T-bar to go through. They've then cut the plastic shroud down so it butts up here because the customer really wanted to have the center console in here. And it's beautifully mounted. When I'm sitting in the car here, this is at perfect hand, and when it's in park, you've still got plenty of room for it all and that. So that all works really, really well. The inhibitor switch for this is actually bolted to the side of the transmission, so all your neutral, start, park, reverse relays are in the car, but the switch itself, the inhibitor switch or range sensor, is actually on the side of the transmission itself. And this is actually a beautiful piece. Like, it's quite an industrial piece to use, you know, fourth, third, second, first, but it's just so rugged, and it really does go with the car like that as well. All right. We actually had to build all of this part for the transfer case. It was a little bit fiddly trying to make it work and to get all the linkages to work and everything like that. You just have to figure that out yourself. We built these, but we hand built them and that. Greg here knows how to do it, so if you do need any information, you can contact us about that. There was a bigger hump on the floor. The guys actually cut that hump out, that raised hump out, and then just flattened it out. So they put a new sheet in there and that, and buttoned it all up nicely and that, and put all the body deadener underneath and everything, just to get the T-bar to sit nice, firm and flat in the car itself. Right, now we move on to the CompuShift system. Now, as we said before, we showed you the computer and that underneath the car. It's actually bolted in the car. You never bolt them underneath, it's always underneath. But here we actually have the display, and this is what the display looks like when it's off. So we'll just turn the ignition on for now. So here we go. So it comes up with the display, and you've got your transmission temperature. Your TCC basically turns around and says whether the torque converter's on or off, tells you what gear you're in, and also your throttle. So I can actually push on the throttle in, and you can actually see the throttle go up. All right. And now D2, now it's in neutral at the moment. It's the reason why it says D2, and it'll stay in D2 all the way. But this is a 480E, where the pressure manifold in the auto doesn't physically fire up to run the display until the engine's actually running. So as soon as you start the engine, the pressure manifold inside the transmission quickly sends the signal to the display that actually then tells it what gear it's in, and it'll actually go through park, reverse, neutral, drive, all the way down into first gear and that. So that basically shows you the display, and look, that's basically about it. Now I could go into more detail, but we just can't fit that much footage on one of these cameras and that. So we'd like to thank Paul, who actually owns this vehicle. He's been great with us. He helped us do all the development, and we've actually had this car here for quite some time, developing it all up. And we actually thought the best way to do this was to actually show you how we actually built this conversion, in the hope that you would do something similar, or if not the same. You can do what Paul done and just go all out, brand new gearbox and remodeled out transfer case and whatnot. Or, as with most of our customers, and depending on the budgets, you can simply use a remanufactured automatic or maybe a second-hand automatic. You will need the LT230 transfer case, and if you're certainly handy with the tools, certainly if you're handy with a welder and that, this conversion is certainly one for you. Now, we're more than happy to supply most of the kit. You know, transmission, the front adapter, the rear adapter, drive plates, converters, T-bar assembly, the CompuShift, everything like that. Or you can go out and find various bits. But if you do need any of the parts, whether it's a whole conversion kit or whether you just want various parts to help you complete your own conversion, then just give us a call. You know, if you're in Australia, it's 03 9 762 8004. If you're international, then it's 613 9 762 8004. Or jump online, it's www.askauto.com.au, and then that's Ask Auto, spelled ASKORTO.com.au. My name's Rodney. Drop us a line if you've got any questions or need any parts. We'll talk to you soon.